that the smallest act of kindness to the most forgotten creature could transform an entire village's heart. This is the true story of a donkey no one wanted, a boy everyone ignored, and a lesson that changed everything. Sometimes the weakest among us teach the strongest lessons. In a small village, there was an old donkey named Jabali. He was slow, weak, and could barely carry anything anymore. His owner, a wealthy merchant, decided Jabali was worthless. "Tomorrow, I'll take him to the edge of the forest and leave him there," the merchant announced. "He's no use to anyone." That night, a young boy named Amari overheard this. Amari was the poorest child in the village, orphaned, hungry, and often invisible to others. But something about that donkey's fate broke his heart. Early the next morning, before the merchant could act, Amari approached him. "Sir, please don't abandon Jabali. Give him to me instead." The merchant laughed. "Give him to you? What will you do with a useless donkey? You can't even feed yourself." Amari looked down at his bare feet, then back up with determined eyes. "Maybe he's not useless. Maybe he just needs someone to care." The merchant shook his head, but agreed. "Fine, take him. One less burden for me." From that day on, Amari and Jabali became inseparable. Every morning, Amari would bring Jabali water from the well, even when he was thirsty himself. He'd share his small portions of food, brush Jabali's worn coat, and talk to him like a friend. "We're the same, you and I," Amari would whisper. "Everyone thinks we're worthless, but we're not. We matter." The villagers noticed this strange friendship. They mocked Amari. "That boy is wasting his time on a dying animal," they'd say. "He should worry about himself." But Amari didn't stop. One scorching afternoon, the village well ran dry. Panic spread as people realized the nearest water source was hours away in the mountains. The strong men prepared to make the journey, but the path was steep and dangerous. "We'll need donkeys to carry the water containers," someone said. The merchant brought his healthy, strong donkeys, but when they reached the rocky mountain path, the young donkeys refused to climb. The terrain was too unfamiliar, too frightening. Then, from the back of the crowd, Amari appeared with Jabali. "Jabali knows this path," Amari said quietly. "He traveled it for 20 years before everyone forgot about him." The merchant scoffed. "That old donkey can't help anyone." But Amari gently guided Jabali forward, and something extraordinary happened. Jabali, slow and tired as he was, began climbing the rocky path with steady confidence. He had traveled this route countless times in his younger years. His memory was perfect. The other donkeys, seeing Jabali's calm leadership, followed behind him. Hours later, Jabali led the entire group safely to the mountain spring and back. The village was saved. When they returned, the villagers erupted in celebration. But this time, they weren't just celebrating the water. They were seeing Jabali, truly seeing him, for the first time in years. The merchant stood silently, watching Amari embrace the exhausted donkey. "I called him worthless," the merchant said, his voice breaking. "But he saved us all. And you saw his value when no one else did." Amari looked up, tears in his eyes. "He was never worthless, sir. We just stopped looking." That day, the village learned something unforgettable. Value isn't measured by strength, speed, or productivity. Value exists in every living being. We just have to choose to see it. Amari, the boy everyone overlooked, taught an entire village that compassion isn't about what someone can do for you. It's about recognizing their dignity when no one else will. See, we live in a world obsessed with usefulness. If you're not producing, performing, or winning, the world tells you you're worthless. But that's a lie. The lesson is this: kindness isn't weakness. Compassion isn't foolishness. When you care for those the world has forgotten, you don't just change their life, you reveal what it means to be truly human. Amari had nothing, but he gave everything. And in return, he didn't just save a donkey, he saved his village's soul. Today, ask yourself, who have I dismissed as worthless? Who have I stopped seeing? What life is waiting for my kindness? You don't need wealth to make a difference. You don't need power to change a life. You just need a heart brave enough to see worth where the world sees waste. One boy, one donkey, one village forever changed. What will your kindness change today?